Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our review of the Blacklist Season 9, Episode 17. Holy guacamole, Batman. What a weird, crazy ending that is just going to be like making my brain be like for like the next week.
Yeah, we'll be honest with you guys. This is like, there are so many different sort of confusing threads in this episode. I know I said last week that this show is becoming less confusing. This is here, me eating my words. It is still confusing. And here we are with this video where I'm just like, what's happening?
This is really something that, like, looking back halfway through this episode, why didn't I see this coming? The moment they like drop Mr. Kaplan's name out of like nowhere,
Yep.
and then all of a sudden we are here with the title of "Is Mr. Kaplan Still Alive?" I don't know what that is, but that is sort of exactly where we are. That is how we are feeling at this moment.
Yeah, we're still trying to we're fresh off the episode. We're still trying to work through our theories. We had a little bit of a talk before this, kind of like, what do you think? I don't know. What do you think? So we're coming on
Yeah.
here with you guys because we also want to hear your theories on what's going on. So we'll do our best to wade through this confusing episode to see what's on the other side.
Well, hit that subscribe button. We are going to be here to hopefully get more in the terms of, like, I don't know, actual precise answers on all of this moving
Mhm.
forward. We also have a preview to discuss next week. So hit that subscribe button so you guys don't miss any of that.
Also, follow us over on Instagram. I have some new pictures up of Miss Fifi Fontaine, my bunny, which
Yeah.
is, the name of the episode tonight.
Yeah. Yeah.
The
There we go.
rabbit.
Ooh. Yeah. So this, I feel bad for the rabbit in this episode because it's like this rabbit. He's gonna get shortchanged big time because of Mr. Kaplan at the very end of all of this.
Yeah, and you know what? I mean, it was an interesting enough plot. It's just, the son of, cartel trying to get his attention kind of thing. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. Mr. Kaplan. All right. Here we go. Let's just start with the big meaty question of it all. Is Mr. Kaplan still alive? And okay, I don't know if I should do this, but all right. No. Okay, but in the commenters, please don't hurt me. Okay. I understand the temptation of thinking that Mr. Kaplan is still alive. I mean, based on the ending of season 4, where Mr. Kaplan jumps off the bridge. I mean, yes, this is the world of the Blacklist. Anything is possible. The
Yes, we had Reddington, who was on death's door, all of a sudden miraculously is completely fine 2 years later, and there's not a whisper of what happened at all. So, can Mr. Kaplan still be alive? Yes, she jumped into the water. Yes, I know she's probably dead, but it is the world of Blacklist, and some stranger things have happened than this.
okay, there's so many fundamental questions I have if Mr. Kaplan is still alive. Starting first and foremost with, why didn't those schmucks like look through the water for her body if she is somehow still alive? You guys are gonna tell me Reddington already shot her like many months before she jumped off the bridge. He didn't bother to check and see if she was dead then. He's not gonna check and see if she was dead now. I do
Yeah.
not understand that at all.
Yeah, well, it's here we are.
Okay, the other okay, the other thing that is sort of boggling my mind with all of this is, okay, let's say Mr. Kaplan somehow miraculously survived and she is somehow still alive. Like, she wanted revenge on Reddington so hardcore at the end of season 4. So all of a sudden, she's just going to sit on her hands and do nothing for years on end and never try to retaliate, never try to build up anything else. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue at the end of season 8, she's like, this is my time to shine. It's just like, what?
Okay, maybe she did need some years to, get her affairs in order, gather people around that could help her. The thing that's just sort of the sticking point for me is that all of these threads that Reddington is following is who's really behind killing Liz.
Yeah.
And I don't think that it's Mr. Kaplan. I mean, she's gone through a lot to save Liz and, fake the whole death and all this other stuff that went on. I just don't see why, all these years later, all of a sudden she's going to be like, you know what? I made a mistake on saving you and now I'm going to kill you. And why? Like, the motivation just isn't there for me. If it's there for you, leave it in the comments. I want to hear it.
Yeah, it just doesn't feel like, it feels like if there's somebody Mr. Kaplan would go after, it would be Reddington more than anybody else. It's kind of like it's the same hole that I have in the crazy Katarina is still out there and doing all of this theory, where it's sort of like the only justification for that is that, all right, Van Dyke was actually supposed to kill Reddington and he ends up killing Liz instead. And that's a big leap to make here.
No, and that could be applied to what's going on with the possible Mr. Kaplans behind this as well. That maybe she was like, listen, Van Dyke, I want you to kill Reddington. We'll have this tracker on Liz so you know where he's going to be because she's going to be where he's going to be. And I can't put it on Reddington, so we'll do it this way. And then when you get there, just kill Reddington. But after everything that happened to Townsend, maybe Van Dyke just went rogue and was like, nah, you know what? I'll just kill Liz. That's what Townsend wanted anyways. It'll still help Mr. Kaplan because, Reddington will be destroyed. Everybody wins.
I
don't think that's what happened, though.
I don't think any of us know what happened, to be honest, at this point. I think this episode is just the Blacklist writers just like picking up their little pens. I'm imagining in this analogy that they're actually handwriting the scripts, and then after they do this,
they're writing like this.
They're writing like
they're
this.
5 years old.
Yeah. Then they drop the pencil. Then they pick up, and then they're just like, ha 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 to all of us for thinking we're so smart, but figuring all of this out. There have been rumors out there that Mr. Kaplan's sister is going to be involved in some way, shape, or form. I dismissed this in the past because I'd be like, what's the point of that now? I really don't have any idea. Maybe there is something to that.
Here's like the thing of it all that's really just got stuck in me is that these discs that have Reddington, on them explaining his empire and all this sort of stuff, that if it's Kaplan came in and bought a second safe with Reddington's money and, I'm an associate, all of that would have happened a very long time ago. This isn't like, it doesn't feel like this would be something that's new that happened. But let's say that, she's after the discs because she wants to destroy Reddington and destroy the empire. Why would she take these discs then and put them in this, super safe vault for safekeeping? That's something that you would just take all the discs and put them in a trash can, a little bit of lighter fluid, light. Okay, that part is gone. Cool. What's the next thing I can destroy?
Yeah, like that is another part of the mystery here, is just the motivation then for Mr. Kaplan, and then also just the timing of all of this. Like, when could all of this feasibly happen? Like you mentioned, it's probably a good while ago, and based on what that safe maker said at the end of this episode, he made it seem like this was a very long time ago that Mr. Kaplan did all of this.
Yeah, and so if that's the case, again, sort of with these discs, then what is the motivation to keep them? And for me, it's been ever since these discs have shown up, it feels like the motivation is whoever has the discs has Reddington's empire. They know all the secrets. They know how to run this perfectly. They know all the ins and outs. It is just like a masterclass of criminal training from the absolute best. So it feels like someone in the organization, I'm not going to be all Marvin this whole video, so don't worry, but somebody in this organization that wants to have their hands on the empire, wants to have their hands on the discs. Otherwise, destroy them. What's the point?
Number one, I still think your Marvin theory is the most likely, and I think that is probably due to sort of where the timeline sort of goes in my head for some of this stuff. So, okay, let's say Mr. Kaplan did all this years and years ago. Like, I tend to think that maybe Mr. Kaplan tried to make sure that she got this second safe built back when season 4 she was trying to destroy Reddington's empire in the first place. That seems like the perfect time to try to hoodwink him in some shape or form. And yeah, realistically, it makes way more sense that she would just set those discs on fire, like you suggest. But maybe, I guess, for the sake of the show, maybe they're just thinking, oh, maybe there was something else she was wanting in there and that wasn't there. For whatever reason, whatever the motivation is that I can't figure out, she kept the discs. They were still out there. Maybe she just found a way to either incorporate other people into the plan, or she just wrote something down that somebody else found after the fact, and that somebody sort of is using now what Mr. Kaplan set up years ago to kind of continue their own plan. So they may not be acting on Mr. Kaplan's behest by any means, but just maybe connected to it somehow.
I will say that there is similar motivation between Mr. Kaplan and Marvin in that neither of them wanted Liz running the empire.
Yeah, I think they both. I think the thing here is, and this is what makes all of this so unbelievably kind of just complicated, is we have to find someone who not only at this point wanted to destroy Liz and hurt Red by extension, or somebody who just wanted to ensure the Empire goes in a different direction. And that's why, at this point, Marvin is kind of the only person that makes a lot of sense just because he wanted it to keep going. But then it's like, how did he find out about this safe? How did he find out about what Mr. Kaplan did? And it just it doesn't seem like Marvin many years ago would have had a motivation to collaborate here.
That's why the biggest thing that is missing from all of this for a lot of us is, what is the timeline? When was Kaplan getting this safe together? Is she alive now and it's something that happened more recently? Or is this something that happened many, many, many years in the past? We don't know who this safe maker is. Is he lying? Reddington thinks everybody's lying. He's bringing Brimley in on everybody in his organization. We had this guy tonight and we had Marvin before. Everybody's getting the Brimley treatment. So why are we going to trust this safe maker? Because he's all like, oh, I did it for you, bud. Sure you did.
It is a good point. Why are we suddenly buying into all of this? Because it's also, if we're just going to kind of continue down that line, isn't it theoretically possible then that whoever paid this guy to build this second safe, maybe they told him to say something about Mr. Kaplan. Maybe they want Reddington to be extremely confused and thinking somehow that Mr. Kaplan is still alive so that they can waste all this time on this just complete just out there theory, when in reality they can get some stuff done behind the scenes.
No, it's absolutely true, because we saw this whole back in the past with the safe maker, and we saw nothing of who this person is except some shoes. And could it be Mr. Kaplan? Sure, maybe. She would wear those shoes, but a lot of people wear those shoes. I have a pair of shoes that look very similar. It's not me.
Well, thank you for clarifying that. I believe they said the person was short, so I'm guessing it is not me either. I think it is also probably...
Oh man, maybe it is me. I'm really short.
Well, okay, I don't know. I've never heard you say the word dearie a lot in active conversation, and we have already made such a big deal about the Katarina versus Reddington height comparison over time, how if Reddington is Katarina, how Katarina managed to get tall enough to be James Spader.
Yeah, it's odd.
Katarina is still taller than the woman that the safe maker described, so probably not her.
But again, do we trust him or not? That's what was coming out of a lot of Reddington watching himself, which I absolutely love the idea that Reddington's getting advice from himself through his tapes. That it was very much a point of, you really can't trust anyone, that even the people who are the most loyal to you at some point are probably going to betray you, like Mr. Kaplan did, or possibly a Marvin or whatever. He thinks everybody's betraying him right now. The guy who owns his house is betraying him, or doesn't own it. Well, I guess he owns it now, but you know what I mean? It's just his biggest thing is that he just feels that there is no one that he can truly trust. He is alone in all of this for the rest of his life, kind of thing. And that is what's going to happen with Liz. So everything that was happening with the safe maker. Oh, I made it for you. And,
Yeah.
it was this person who called herself Mr. Kaplan kind of thing and, said dearie. That's just like, would you believe him? Bring out Brimley, right?
Can we? Yeah,
He's the next guy who's next up.
we might as well at this point. The Reddington, watching Reddington. Like you said the word masterclass earlier, and that's perfect because I want Reddington to sell, like, those masterclass web programs that you can buy to listen to somebody talk about their book for like 10 hours. Reddington, release this. You can make a lot of money. I want to know the 12 perfect wines that can be paired with anything. Like, I loved all of that. I also do think that at some point down the road, I think there was a lot of meta commentary with him saying what you mentioned, the whole sometimes the real answer is something that's right in front of you that you don't just aren't thinking of. I think that's probably commentary on who this person really is, that it probably is someone who a lot of us just aren't thinking about or just aren't fathoming being possible somehow.
Well, it also sort of brings back to your Katerina theory because
Oh boy.
here we go. So, one of the things that he told himself on his tapes is, to sort of look for the magician who's, you think you're in a hospital in France, but really you're not, sort of thing, which is
Yeah.
what happened with Katerina.
Yep.
Now we have him being like, oh, light bulb, maybe this safe is, a magician trick and it's not really the right safe. Or, they're doing sort of the cup thing where it's like, oh, you think it's here, but it's really gone. And as it turns out, yeah, the safe has been switched out and it is like a magician trick, has been already played on him by Katerina.
Oh man, now my brain is racing and it's like with even more confusion because now I'm trying to like untangle the knot of yeah, I forgot about the hospital thing in France, and that was like in season.
Yeah, I had forgotten too until he was like talking about it in the tape. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
But then as soon as it went off in his head where he was like, oh, that, oh, okay, let me take another look at this. I was like, oh,
When were the
oh.
when was this stuff recorded? No, it is a
Yes, when was this recorded?
like I'm even more curious about like did he have some that were there and he's just been slowly adding some over? It's just there's so many different ways this could go. The only other thing I will say about this Katerina thing right now is who Mr. Kaplan was very, very close to at a certain point, Katerina Rostova. So like if there's anyone she could have communicated with, then it's possible that that is something that could have happened in some shape or form. And it was always alluded that Mr. Kaplan knew like way more than a lot of other people, and she probably was harboring still some secrets at the time of her death, whatever those may be.
I just don't know what the motivation would be for Mr. Kaplan or Katerina to kill Liz. And that's sort of where I'm just kind of stuck. But that doesn't mean that they didn't. I mean, the show could very well write in a reason for it, or it could have just been a mistake and it was supposed to be red. That's a possibility.
Speaking of magic tricks, I want to speak for a moment here to Mr. Magician Amir Arison, who on Twitter had decided over the past couple of days to hype up how like crazy these couple of episodes are, and I was just sort of like, sure, it's gonna be crazy.
No,
There's
he
a lot
was
of
right.
yeah, I was like downplaying it in my head. Okay, Amir, you were right. This was insane. I'm sorry. Okay, and it's probably only get even weirder based on what we're knowing about Samara coming back later on.
See, I had hoped that this episode was going to be just as good as the other two, and it exceeded my expectations.
Yeah, like it's a really good episode. This is probably just the most confused I think I've been with the Blacklist episode after the fact in a very long time.
Oh, for sure. And, it does kind of suck that it overshadows everything that went on with, Aram and, his ex-business partner who just didn't care that his software was, had a lot of vulnerabilities in it to do bad. And, Aram got it all fixed up by the end and everything with the avocado cartel, which is actually a thing in case you didn't know that cartels are using avocados and limes for money. So, I got to go protect my stuff in the backyard. I have a lime tree that has started to bloom.
Yeah,
and an avocado tree that's doing nothing.
They call it green gold. You better prepare ourselves for when they're coming.
Yeah, it's been going on for a little while now. I remember hearing about it like last year or the year before or
Yeah.
something like that. And I was like, that's really interesting. I mean, it makes sense. But then, yeah, they brought it on the show and I'm like, oh, right. I remember that story.
There was totally a Blacklist writer who, when that story came out, they were just like, I'm jotting this down. I know I'm doing the same writing motion, but I'm jotting this down. We're going to put this in an episode at some point a little bit later on down the road. So, okay, here's where things stand right now. We only have like a little handful of season 9 left. Like this was episode 17, 22 is the finale. So we have 5 more to go. I want to think we're going to learn who's responsible for all of this by the finale, but do I think that that person is going to be stopped by the finale? No, you nodding your head is absolutely correct.
No, I don't think they're going to be stopped, but I don't feel confident after last season's finale that we are going to actually get like a very clear view of who's behind it. I would love that. That would be like really great to have it be like, okay, this whole season is to get to who is it. All next season is Red versus, said person. And, then we move into season 11, see what happens. I know it's not renewed for season 11 yet, but I'm hopeful.
You never know. Like, you never know apparently about Mr. Kaplan. She may be dead and just poof, all of a sudden she's alive. I will say this. As much as I have already said no to the question of whether or not she's alive, I love Mr. Kaplan. I loved the Mr. Kaplan arc. Like those final episodes of season 4, they were lit. Yeah. I would be happy, but I just don't know if it's going to happen.
That's the thing is like, I always wondered if the show had regrets killing her off as early as they did. I mean, I don't know. I've heard other shows, I'm not going to ruin them or anything, but I've heard other shows where they've killed off characters where like, man, that was a mistake.
Okay, I figured it out now, everyone. We're 21 minutes in. I can do this. I can do this joke at this point. Okay, here's who killed Liz.
Oh boy.
Liz. Oh, it was a Cyranoid of herself that she shot, and she's just running off now.
We're wrapping it up, guys. I am sorry.
All right, well, hit that subscribe button. We got to go find some avocados and protect them from the cartel. And also follow us on Instagram at JessTV, and we'll see you here next time.